In 1913, there was never a negotiation with the black people when they lost their land. Today, you are using negotiation. Where did you get it from? You know what you should have done? You should have used the same law, force removal. This time you force Rupert and open him and then return the land. But you can't use Roman, Dutch and British law to do that unless you are a subject of Roman and Dutch and British. Then you will use that. But there was no negotiation here. So then you will fail in your mission because you are applying wrong laws, wrong interventions. Take the land if it means, but you don't have to report to Britain and Dutch and Romans. Come to us as natives. We are still there as warm bodies. You may have destroyed the Amakhosi structures as an institution of government, but we still exist as warm bodies. So it means we can restore and reconstruct Amakhosi's governance system. First Minister and the department, please tell South Africans, are we still a British colony or a Roman colony or a Dutch colony? The reason is this one. Your source documents which you use to restore and reform this land, where are you getting them from? Or what are they saying? Because I will give you mine when we talk about land reform. This is all part of strategy. I'm using the 1905 first census or document of South Africa, which is followed by the native tribes of Transvaal, followed by the native tribes of Natal, followed by the native tribes of Cape Colony. So those are my source documents. Now, the first question I'm asking is going to tell you whether are you coming towards our directions as those who were dispossessed of the land, or you going to the direction of the British and the Romans and the Dutch. And the history will tell us. I'm saying this because in 1913, this land was not packaged according to Roman, Dutch and British law. It was packaged according to native law. And though it was taken not from the current occupants, but was taken from Amakhosi. Amakhosi who constitute the communities. Today, this department has only NYAMBOSE Trust as the only entity which it calls their entity. Do you know that you were supposed to also have similar entities in the other 8 provinces? Let alone that you erase that history. But I'm giving you a source document which you should be using to restore the land. But moving forward, then when I look at the issue of economy, the land is economics. 92% are black people. 8% are white people. White people are still sitting at 87% today from 1913. Black people are sitting at 18% and even less by now because they are even buying the last remaining bits and pieces which blacks are occupying. And who is buying them? Rupert and Oppenheimer. My source document, where do I get that from? I get it from the book called South Africa Incorporated, Oppenheimer Empire, which means South Africa is packaged as a close corporation of Mr. Rupert and Oppenheimer, and is their empire. Here we are as Amakhosi and black community thinking that we are the natives of this land, but there is a white man too who occupy the highest echelon of the South African economy. Where in this land we are actually not taking it from government, it is in their hands, packaged as private property. At which stage was it packaged as a private property? When it was taken from us. And I've just noticed in your document, the entire departmental strategy, if you're using 1913 as your basis, how did you miss Amakhosi in that equation? Amakhosi are no longer reflecting in your strategy, are no longer reflecting here as people that you are restoring the land to. What you've done, you have repackaged the land of Amakhosi into community property association, but carefully leaving Amakhosi out of those community property associations, which means indirectly you are destroying the institution of Amakhosi, but you have time to develop community property association, but you don't have time to restore NYAMBOSE's land. Now, when you think that you will then achieve this by 2029, let me tell you here, I will be there in 2029. You won't achieve this thing. Everything that you're going to do there. Why? Because the very government that is seeking to restore this land is not even in control of the economy. So you then have to get permission from Rupert and Oppenheimer whether he can allocate money into the state so that you render your function. Because you don't control the economy, so you won't even grow it. Because for you to grow it, you must own it. And whoever owns it is the one who must grow it. And in this case, we must talk to Mr. Rupert and Oppenheimer to grow us the economy so that we can all have access to economy, because there is no growth. How can you grow something that you don't have? Let me say, the idea that says you must stop supporting the blacks, you can't forever babysit them. Let me balance it by saying, then you must also say to Mr. Rupert and Oppenheimer, he must return those lands pockets that he took, so that at least we can be self-sufficient, because the lands that we're talking about are not the arable, non-viable land we're talking about. Where we are sitting in rocky, thorny areas as blacks. The fertile grounds are all in the white hands. And you know what they have done? They have done cross-directorship across. By 2007, 500,000 companies were registered at CIPRO. And 99.9% of those are belonging to them. So it means that they're actually controlling this economy. Now, I said strategy. That's why I made it clear. I'm focusing on your strategy. You said 2025 to 2029, and that's where I am. So I'm saying to you, none of this will be achieved until you should have come here, give us, disaggregate the picture. Where are we sitting now? We were at 13% in 1913. We are still at 13% in 2025. Over 112 years. Then it means we're not moving. But the reason why we're not moving is because the laws you are using, you use the same laws that were used to dispossess, and you think you can then restore and reform. And it turns out you can't, because as you carve out of the budget, that money which could be doing restoration, it is being made by these gentlemen. They are making that money on daily basis, but they are not redirecting it to the state. No wonder then the land reform process is not going to be achieved. So I'm saying, can you then restore your strategy back to NYAMBOSE? Because I do have a document which points out which tribe was sitting at which town. But you guys are no longer focusing on that.